Hey, this is class 4 for Brick School, and in today's topic, we will be discussing templates. There is probably nothing more misunderstood about bricks and the building concepts than the templates, and it's not your fault. The truth of the matter is, it's a little dinky the way that they've done it, but it's the way that they've done it, and I've come to really like it. But out of the gate, your first time, you just got here, you new to the party, it might be a little bit confusing. So let's take a look at it and we'll kind of clear out some of this confusion. Now, before I start, I want to say this is not going to be a full in-depth about templates. The truth of the matter is these are part of the core video files just to get somebody fast-tracked up and going, okay? There's a lot of little nuances about templates, especially when it comes to WooCommerce and stuff like that, that I simply can't get into right now. Those will be in once the core videos are done, okay? So with that, let's get going. So here's our sample site. We have just a couple of BricsBits templates pasted together, and you can actually see some BricsFX motions. None of those matter for this video. What we're looking at here are the templates, and in this case, there's one template being used. It's the header template. Now, some of you may already know how to use this, so I've left the header in. But if you notice, this site doesn't have a footer template. So let's go ahead and add a footer. To add a footer, we're going to head over to the dashboard, go to Bricks, Templates. We will click Add a new template, and we will type in footer. Now, over here, you're going to see the type of template, and this is really important. I'm going to go through them real fast. You have a header. Obviously, it's going to show up in the header. There's a few things that you can do special for a header, such as sticky header and stuff like that. Then you have your footer, which is what we're going to be using, obviously, because we're making a footer. The next we have is single. Now, what this means is, let's say you have a CPT, a custom post type, or you even just have your regular posts. And this is for a single. So this is the final one. They've seen a cards or this is a single, the single record, which, unlike the archive record, which is okay, so you're looking at a custom post type, maybe you have automobiles, and boom, you would go and you would see all of your automobiles. So typically this would be a page of cards or that kind of thing. I'm not going to get into the other more specialized ones. I think the error page kind of picks up itself. Same with search results. And the pop-up one obviously is going to be its own separate video. But the most important ones by far are section and footer. Now, section is really interesting, and we're going to get to that in just a minute. But for right now, let's just bang out a footer. So we're going to say it's a footer. We're going to publish that. And now that it's published, we're going to say edit with bricks. And here we go. It loads up the page. The header is being shown. But really what we're doing is down here, we're going to add a section, right? So let's go ahead and add a section. And as you can see, it picks up the padding for our section. The padding from our section is being dictated here in our theme style. So if I go here and I go to elements and I go to sections, you'll see that I have a value for the top and bottom padding. Well, in this case on a footer, we probably don't want that much padding. Well, luckily we can override it on a local end. So let's go ahead and I tell you what, let's first set a background color so we can kind of see what it is we're doing. And I don't know, it really doesn't matter because it's just a template site. And so as you can see, there's already a numerical value in there that's kind of grayed out, and you don't really need to worry about it because that is still being made up by our clamp that we used for the padding. However, we can go ahead and override it. And in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and choose, say, a space M, And we'll do the same here, a little space M. Now we've got a nice tighter padding. Into our container we'll go, and let's go ahead and add a basic text. So we'll come in here and tell you what, let's add a heading and a basic text. And the reason I did that is I wanted to show you now on your container, you can, of course, change your typography. So let's say we want to make this text white, so we're going to give it light, and now it's set everything in that container to be white automatically. I don't personally like doing that. I like setting each one because I do find sometimes the child doesn't seem to pick up right when I deal with these footer sections, but that's just me personally. So anyhow, here, you could see this is now your footer and it's saved there. In fact, we'll just say, our footer. I don't know. It really doesn't matter. And here we'll just center this so that it just looks like our footer. And when we save that, I'm going to go ahead and open up another window here, and I'll just go to the home page, and you can see our footer is automatically put in. Now, I think this is new in 2.0 because it used to be you still had to, on your template, you had to actually go in and say in your template settings, you would go to conditions, you would add a condition, and you would say entire website. I believe with the header and footer, it's doing that automatically now. Now, should you want a template that, or I should say a footer that maybe didn't show up on certain pages, you didn't want to have this footer to show up, even though by default it's showing up everywhere, all you have to do is go in and put a condition, and you would say, okay, on an individual page, and I don't even know if I have pages on here. Okay, I'll say the privacy page. We're going to exclude the privacy page. Now that footer would not be included when the privacy page loaded. And that's basically how you handle the same with headers and your footers. It's a way of excluding certain pages, which is very helpful if you have a specific header or possibly no header. I know on my payment gateway, I hide my headers and footers because once somebody's paid, I don't want them clicking off somewhere else in the site. They need to fill out a form typically. So that's that. And cool, it's footers. Great. We've learned that. However, you're just scratched the surface of what footers really can do. So let's go ahead and show you. Let's say, I tell you what, we'll save this footer. And here on the home page, let's go ahead and say edit with bricks. Now, let's say we have, I don't know, this card wrapper here. Good little card wrapper. It's got 4 cards, got some stuff good on it. However, I may want to reuse this somewhere else on my site. Now, I have a couple options. I could go ahead and make a component and all of that, and that's all good and dandy. However, when I personally am trying to reuse a section of a website, and maybe I'm going to have this in a few other places, or a lot of times it's just I want the, I want to keep all of the classes and all that, but I'll put in different information, let's say. So what I'll do is I'll actually right-click this and say save as a template. And in this case, we'll call it card wrapper, and the template type is section, okay? And the template bundle and the tags don't really matter. First of all, the bundle is sort of a separate thing. I won't really bother getting into. Template tags, you can add tags should you want if you have a bunch of templates that you're searching through. But let's go ahead and just save this as a template, okay? And now you can see here's our header, here's our header, our footer, and here's our card wrapper, okay? And I just want you to think of this like a little clipboard of that information. there you go. It's there. It's it's all the parts, and that's great. Now let's head over, say, to another page. And because this is a temp site, I don't really have anything linked up, but we'll just come over here and we'll go to this privacy page, let's say, and we'll edit this with bricks. Okay, so we have this temp site here. Apparently I put something in there. So I'll empty it out, and now I have our section and our container. Now I want to reuse that template, right? I've got two ways to do that. And this is really important that you understand this. The first way is that I can go ahead and insert, and here I'm going to choose template. And this template here says no template selected. Well, I can select my template. Now, it's not going to show you the header and the footer because those aren't a section. This is only for sections, right? But look, I can drop in this card wrapper, and there's the card wrapper. Now, this is why this works a lot like components. When I do it this way, I've only added the template, but I can't actually edit this template. If I edit it anywhere else on the website, that template will get updated on this page because it's just showing the template. The template isn't being recreated on this page, it's just showing it. And in fact, it's kind of cool because you could do things like this. So here, let's go here and we will wrap this in a block. And let's wrap that block in a block. This is the first time I've done this in, oh, look at that. You can wrap it in a div now. That's new in 2.0, right? Okay, so now you've got a block inside of a block, and, we will tell you what, we'll duplicate this block and we'll take one of those templates out just so that we have two blocks. And so we've got an empty block here and then that. But check this out. Now, let's say if I turned this this over block and made it into a grid, and let's say I do, I don't know, 1 FR and 3 FR. See what happened there? I changed the layout, but because this was built responsively, it contorted to suit the way that it's being used, even though the template has not been changed at all. In fact, if I were to change the template, then it would update on this page. Very cool, right? So that's using a template sort of as a component, if you will. Not exactly a component, but sort of is. If you have something like I use it for menu bars or different things like that I want to reuse throughout the site, and I just want them to stay contained. I don't want to mess with components or anything like that. Boom, this works great. The problem is, what if I wanted to use the same card, all the same structure? I don't want to have to recreate the bloody thing. I just wanted the actual, blocks and sections on this page. Well, let's go ahead and delete everything except for this container. By the way, all I did there was select let me undo that. I selected the highest thing, press Control and delete, and all of it's gone. Now, I've got my container. I want those cards, but I don't want to just be able to see the template. I want to be able to edit it. I want to be able to change what's in there. So this time, what I will do is I will go view my templates. And from here, I see the card wrapper. Now, I'm not seeing images of these templates because I haven't turned that on in the settings. If I wanted to see the images of the settings, or of the templates, I should say, I would just go into my brick settings. I would go into templates and I would turn on template screenshots and I would set it as I think I use 250 pixels. I don't know. Something like that. And um yeah, I believe that's what it is that I use. You go ahead and you save that, and next time you open a template, let's just do that right here. Let's go ahead and edit this with bricks. The next time I save this template, and by the way, you notice as I open this template here, there is no wrapper, there is no section. I do that on purposely because I don't want it to necessarily be in a section. This is just a chunk of reusable website that I can use, right? Okay, so now that I've done this and I've saved it, back here, if I go to my templates, you see there's a screenshot of it. Now I made this screenshot probably too big. 250 I would say is too big. I think it's 150 that I usually use. But anyway, it's only changing the screenshot image. So what I'm going to do is here I'm going to insert it. I'm not going to use the template element. I'm going to insert it and watch what the difference is. Now my card wrapper, which didn't actually go into the container, but I'll just click and drag it into the container now. The entire thing came in. Now the images, for whatever reason, didn't come in. I'm going to save that and refresh the page. So this has changed recently a little. They're doing a place imager holder now where you can kind of overwrite these things. And I won't get into that because it doesn't really matter for now. But what does matter is what I've brought in is not just a view to the template, but I've just recreated the template. And if I look, you can see that the class came with it, cards 38, or cards 30, I should say. That came from Brixbit's template library, and that's where that cards 30 name comes from. I could have renamed it, but you get what I'm saying. So I brought with it all the styling from my template, and I have it here. Now I would have to obviously, pick an image and insert that. Okay. Had some problems with my recording software getting in the way there. So you see what I'm saying is that you still have that template, and I can go change the template, but it won't change when I do it this way and I bring in all of the parts and I insert it. I'm sort of just taking a photocopy of that template at the time and putting it in. So if I update the template, this way here is not going to update. The other way will update. So that's how you use sections as templates. Now, sometimes you'll want to use a whole page for the individual, like we were talking about. That should only ever be done if you're using dynamic data. There's really no other reason for it. I see a lot of people doing this, creating tens or hundreds of templates, and that's not really, there's no benefit to it. There really isn't. If you have a section that you're going to reuse in the future, fine, make that section a template. Or now that there's components, you could use components. Personally, I think I right now still use templates because it's just more streamlined for me. If, however, it's a one of page, this is our About Us page, you don't need a template for that. You could just go ahead and create the page right there. Okay, so hopefully that kind of clears up the idea of templates. Now, like I said, this is a little bit of an overview because WooCommerce adds a lot of complexity in terms of which pages are templates and which pages aren't. And it's a little bit of a headache to figure out the first time. But like I say, I'll have a video specifically on that. It'll probably be outside of these core lessons. These core lessons are just, let's get you up and running. so that you understand. So hopefully now you understand templates a little bit more. Again, the only time I worry about template conditions are on a header, on a footer, or on like an archive where I'm saying, okay, well, yes, use it on this, but let's say you have cars and you might have one template for the cars that are domestic and another one for the cars that are international or whatever. You kind of get the idea. So hopefully this gives you some clarity on the template world. In our next video, we're going to actually start looking at the building blocks and actually start to use bricks a little bit more. I know right now a lot of these are about theory, but I think in order to really understand what you're doing, you should have a general overview of, what is it? How does bricks look at doing these things? And that's exactly where the idea, or I should say, that's where the problem with the templates, I think, stems from, is that maybe the communication could be better as to how you should use templates, because I don't even know if I would have called them templates. I almost view them more like snippets or sections, or you see what I mean? There's a lot of ways that you could phrase it that might be less confusing than calling them templates. All right, I'll see you in the next class.